girlies. Let's talk self-esteem. I know I'm not alone when I say that I have struggled majority of my life with the way that I see myself and my self-esteem as a whole. It started as a young age, probably around 11, where I noticed that people my age and the girls around me had way skinnier legs than I did, and for some reason that made me feel like I must have been overweight or there was something wrong with me, when really they just hadn't hit puberty yet and my body had just started to change. And then seeing girls where you could see their ribs and you couldn't see mine, so yeah, I thought that surely I must have been overweight or something, when that's just was completely untrue. And then going into my teen years, I was healthy and living a balanced life, playing sport and eating healthy foods. Like, my mum always fed me good foods. It was never lots of takeaway or stuff that made me feel sick. So I was living a healthy life, looked the healthiest I had ever looked in my life. And somehow I was still comparing myself to friends in my sports teams or friends that just looked different. And I always had a muscly build, so I always had bigger arms naturally. And I'd see girls in photos that would like have their arm up against them in photos and see mine and be like, oh my gosh, like my arm is huge. And it's just like so sad, because I look back at myself and think, wow, like she was just, even now, like the way I'm talking in the past, like she was so beautiful. I am so beautiful. My body's just changed. But I just feel so sorry for that girl that constantly saw herself as the biggest person in the room. No matter who I was in the room with, I somehow found a way to convince myself that I was the biggest girl there. I'd feel embarrassed to join in on group activities, so I'm just like, oh, there's no way people could carry me. I was just so constantly aware of how I looked, and it's so sad to look back on. And then now, more recently, I suffered a major injury which left me in bed for several months, not being able to walk unassisted. And due to that, I ended up gaining weight because I wasn't able to live the life that I used to, where I was playing competitive sport. I was training like 4 days a week, and then I'd play 2 games on the weekend. I was just such a sporty person, and so I had to deal with the fact that I not only couldn't play sport again, but because I couldn't play sport again, I was gaining weight, and that affected the way that I saw myself and made things so much harder to deal with that whole process. I honestly became so much more self-conscious, because I'm just like, what do people think? People probably think that I just like, I quit the sport and like, wow, like she's probably put on weight, when really, like, who thinks that? And I think that that was just obviously an insecurity of mine, but people really don't care that much. And if they do, then they should honestly just like focus on themselves, because it's not nice. It's just crazy that our bodies actually just change all the time, and we just need to understand that they are going to do that, and we need to come to terms with that and learn to love ourselves in that season. Or was it just makes things so much harder? Like, we need to cut our body some slack, because it does so much for us, and I don't think it's ever going to just be the same for a certain amount of time. So I myself need to cut myself some slack, because it's normal and everyone goes through the exact same thing. I even find myself comparing to the people around me, and then my friends chat to me and share that they're going through the exact same thing. So I think this topic just needs to be talked about so much more. I always appreciate talking to friends and hearing that I'm not abnormal, like I'm actually, what I'm feeling is normal, even though it shouldn't be. Talking about it can just help so much. So I hope that this helps someone. This is my way of contributing to it not being talked about enough. So hopefully it helps some of you, even just a little bit. Love you guys. Hope this helps.